later, as time went by in Alamo, we were able to meet more with members, and one of the members in the ward who owns like this like out outlying house area. Um, he had recently bought a horse and didn't know how to work with a horse, and so um, the horse he hired a horse trainer. And after talking with her, I guess he's very open about the church with those he talks with, and I guess she had taken the missionary lessons years ago with this horse trainer. Her name was Goldie, and Goldie was pretty unique. Goldie was pretty unique in that area. That was one of the investigators I remember the most. Um, and when we were able to meet with her, she really had a great deep sense of spirituality and a deep sense of what we were teaching. And she really was wishing to be sensitive to the Spirit. And her 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 obstacles were she had multiple sclerosis, so she was in a lot of pain often, and especially after like riding horses or a lot of physical activity, she would have to lie down. Sometimes she would have to lie down on her side during the lessons when we were over there. But it was really cool to see the spiritual progress through there. And Elder Jones and I started teaching her, and we were really inviting the Spirit, and we were really able to connect on that, and be able to see just a lot of growth and a lot of faith as well that she had in doing her best to come to church. And shortly after, Elder Jones was transferred, and I was assigned to I was called to train a new missionary, and we were able to teach her for a little while longer. And we had a baptismal date with her, but the week before, she was talking with her husband, who was not interested in the church at all, and her husband disapproved of the baptism. And so we continued to meet with her a few more times, and unfortunately, I haven't heard to this day if she's been baptized, but she definitely has a lot more in her life now. She has a lot more of the gospel, and when that day comes, that she'll be more prepared, and her husband will be more more willing and more agreeable. She will have the opportunity to be baptized, and that was just something that was really interesting to me. But and I learned a lot during that time, because as a missionary, when I was a missionary during that time, I was really, it was a week before baptism, things were going great, and then that happened, that things started dropping off. I remember feeling a lot of disappointment, a lot of, this like feeling of heartbreak. Really, it was just like, there were feelings of, is there something I did wrong as a missionary? Is there something like, that, what went wrong? And then I remember shortly afterwards, we were in a member's home talking about the atonement. It got brought up in our conversation, and this member gave me a copy of the BYU magazine that had the talk by Brad Wilcox titled "His Grace is Sufficient," which is the basis for a couple of his books that he has that I've been able to read. And I read through that talk shortly after Goldie called us, saying that she is not able to be baptized because her husband is not approving. And I remember reading that talk and just really understanding about the reality of the atonement, how it's able to help uplift, how it's able to help, even when we stumble, even when we sometimes feel that we fail. Oftentimes it's part of our growing points, and the Lord is not disappointed. What I learned from that experience teaching Goldie is that people experience the gospel, people are there. Some people are not ready for baptism right away, but as the missionaries, you are able to help them prepare. as I kept on reading this talk by Brother Wilcox, I was able to feel a lot more peace about things. Peace about myself as a missionary that helped me feel a lot more reassured that what I did was the right thing. That I did my best, and that's all the Lord asks as a missionary. Because oftentimes as a missionary, it's hard when those times happen that there's somebody you care for a lot that is not able to to experience the things you have, to experience being in the gospel so much. But at the same time, you're able to have a lot of understanding that the Lord works in His own ways, and it's just a really uplifting. It's faith building to trust that good things will come, and for me, that's why I have hopes for Goldie. Is that she'll never forget those things we've taught, those things we've experienced, and the day will come that she'll be able to receive those things that she's looking for.